I'd like to call our December steering committee to order. First item of business is to approve the minutes from last month. We have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that they be approved as mailed.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Secondly, we need to announce two vacancies on the Conservation Board, those being Dan Mitchell and Jim Estes. And now we need to fill 3 vacancies on the Agricultural Advisory Board. If you remember, we announced that, of course, last month. One was for a county commissioner position, a farmer position, and a farm lady position. We have received 3 applications for those. Commissioner Steve Sandlin for the commissioner position, and Mr. Scales for the farmer position, and then also Ms. Goodman for the farm lady position. We, as historically, have offered the opportunity for any of the applicants to say anything that they would wish to say to the committee. So I guess we'll keep with that protocol, and I guess we'll start with Commissioner Sandlin going in order of the applications that we've received.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Been on this committee a long time, and of 1 month, I believe it is. There was a little mix-up there on the appointment there, and so I fulfilled the expired term of a commissioner. I believe Mr. Ron Williams. I believe so.
That's right.
And or Anthony Johnson, one of them that didn't come back. So I appreciate the opportunity to be put back on the board, and grew up on the farm and dairy farm and raised cows and plenty of acres of corn and beans and soybeans and stuff, and well involved in 4-H and a rural county commissioner too. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Excellent job on that month.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it
Heard a
was
lot
a
of
hard
good
job.
things.
It was a hard job.
Somebody has to do it.
Somebody has to do it.
Did you even meet?
We did. We met.
All right, thank you. Mr. Scales.
I put an application in, and I would like to serve on the Agricultural Farm Advisory Committee. And I worked farm all my life. I went in service. I did 24 years in service, and I worked at Ford Motor Company. I did 30 years there, and I'm retired. And I've been to several classes at the Agricultural Center, farm enhancement classes, and I just like farm work, and I just like to be considered.
Thank you, sir.
Good question, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman. Are you a farmer now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Cattle farm.
Very good.
Good enough.
Ms. Goodman.
Well, my husband and I have lived in Milton on our farm for 30-plus years. I've been the farmer. And he likes to say that that's because my dad came to MTSU as chairman of the Ag Department. And since he didn't have any boys, I was next in line. But it didn't quite work like that. Actually, my husband took me to the farm. But I've really enjoyed it. We've had 5 children out there, and they've been active in 4-H. I've been on the Ag Committee before in the past. I really don't remember how long ago it was. I rotated off. I think I served 2 terms. But it was very rewarding work. I've been president of the Cattlemen's Association for 7 years in the past. I was the state of Tennessee Cattleman of the Year, Producer of the Year in 1993. I'm on the Soil Conservation District Board right now. Qualified for Master Beef Farmer through the Extension Agency. So it would be very, very nice to continue to be involved in this capacity.
Thank you very much. Any commissioners have any questions for any of our applicants?
Move that the nominations cease and they be elected by acclamation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all for coming tonight. Our December commission meeting, where you'll be recommended to the full commission for approval, is on the 16th, maybe December 16th. That's a Thursday night at 6 o'clock. If you all would be willing to be there, I think that would be wonderful. Thank you for your time and your commitment. Next on the agenda is to fill 2 vacancies on the Correctional Work Center Board. Commissioners, you received 4 applications, one of which has been withdrawn. The 3 remaining are Mr. Grant Kelly, Mr. Thomas Hartley, Mr. Arnold has withdrawn his application, and then Mr. Gammon, Mr. Virgil Gammon remains. So we'll take those 3 under consideration, and we'll follow the. I would also, we'll follow the same protocol, and we'll just start with Mr. Kelly. Do you have anything you'd like to say in addressing to the committee?
Well, I served on the board for a number of years, and of course, served with many of you on the county commission, and I would like to remain on this board. We've gone through some changes at the workhouse board and the workhouse itself, and we've made some positive changes. We'd like to continue on that path. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Hartley.
I too would like to continue serving on the board. I've been there for a number of years, and I'm very pleased with the progress that we've made out there. We've expanded the education and outreach programs, which I'm convinced reduces the recidivism rate. And we've expanded the work opportunities, which allows the inmates to pay for their keep while they're there. And quite frankly, I think the workhouse is one of the most efficiently run incarceration institutions and I mean that but money-wise and otherwise. So I'm retired. I have the time to give. I enjoy the public service, and I'm willing to continue serving if you see fit.
Thank you. And Mr. Gammon.
Well, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I believe each of you I've worked with over the years in some form or fashion with the finance and budgets, law enforcement committees, and not mind to unseat anybody because I'm sure these gentlemen have done a fine job, but I feel like it's made a point, 33 years of experience, federally trained in corrections, been doing corrections at the sheriff's office, over 800 prisoners, 400 personnel that I can more than give ample assistance and leadership to the committee to do, further do a better job and advance in the direction they need to go.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, yes, sir.
I had a question, Mr. Gammon. Being part of the Sheriff's Department, and I saw your resume, and it's a deep resume. I mean, it was pretty extensive, so more than qualified for sure. I ain't no doubt about that. I'm trying to figure out how to ask this in a correct way, but as being on the Sheriff's Department or the Sheriff, y'all can go out and be a part of this committee at any point in time, or any citizen can at any meeting come in and listen to what's being done and what's going on. Why the interest in, I guess, the workhouse?
Well, we helped the mayor at some point. I worked closely with the superintendent there, also Captain Cope. We have worked very close together over the years. They know how I think, I know how they think, and I feel like I know the direction they also want to go with the advancement of furthering, the needs of the prisoners that are there. We do the classification at the sheriff's office, so who we send out to the workhouse are minimum security people. So there are a lot of programs there to work with, but there's a lot of benefits of us working closer together with training, also with future building needs, these type of things that I feel like that can be contributed, by being directly involved with it. And I think Mr. Salanti could attribute to that, and also Mr. Cope with that ideology. But that's basically the direction, is that we're at the point with the workhouse where it is now, where we are now, that we need to work closer together anyway. And I feel like by doing this, that's going to be accomplished.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I think it would be an asset, but is there, I know our attorney's office here, and I don't, or our attorney's represented here for the county, and the mayor's here, but I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Is there a issue with county sheriff's department if they were so elected or appointed to this board? Is there a problem with ethics or conflict or anything like that, or if maybe any of the county commissioners can shed some light on that? I don't want to do anything, or for us or this committee to do anything that's out of line.
Yes, sir. I've already researched that issue. It is not a conflict of interest. Any member of the sheriff's department is eligible to serve on that committee. Obviously, there's going to be they've got to be wary, just like all y'all have to be wary about certain issues that may or may not come up that could be a conflict of interest. But there's nothing that's part and parcel to service on that board that will be a conflict of interest. So there is no conflict issue.
Okay. I appreciate it.
In years past, the only thing that I can remember, there was a Attorney General's opinion that was, I know Commissioner Goodwin, when he was the commissioner of the 13th District, wanted to get on there, and I don't think a county commissioner can serve on the workhouse board. It's the only thing that I know of.
The workhouse board has a very broad definition of who can serve, and it's any, I can't remember the exact term of art, but it's basically anyone that the county commission believes is qualified to serve. So there's not technically any conflict. Now, there could have been a conflict with that individual specifically if there's some kind of contract or something that they oversaw there. I can't speak to that issue, but it's a very broad definition.
I just remember back years ago, because it was when I first come on the commission.
Yes, sir.
That was brought up.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I motion that we nominate all three and vote on two.
Have a second?
Second.
All for it? Any opposed? We're going to vote?
Aye.
That's fair. Thank you.
We've got a letter of recommendation from the board.
Yes,
Is
I'm
that
sorry.
correct?
We do.
Did we vote on that motion on the floor?
I think we did. We want to do it for more
Yeah.
clarity's sake. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. We did, you all received via email a copy of a letter from Chairman of the Mayor Burgess of the Correctional Work Center Board of Directors. I'll just read that if you allow me to. The Rutherford County Correctional Work Center Board met on November 1st, 2010 for their monthly meeting and voted to recommend for the reappointment of Mr. Tom Hartley and Mr. Grant Kelly to the Rutherford County Correctional Work Center Board. The motion carried with Mr. Hartley and Mr. Kelly not voting. They have been an asset and given generously of their time and effort to the Correctional Work Center Board, and it would be beneficial to the board to keep them in place.
And that's fine, and I'm not indicating anything here except just to point out that I believe that letter, that meeting predated Mr. Gammon's application
I believe you are correct, sir.
by a couple of weeks. I'm not saying the meeting would have yielded anything any different.
I believe you're right. Any other discussion? You call the roll, Ms. Bickey.
Commissioner Black,
Hartsley, Gammon.
Commissioner Farley,
Hartley, Gammon.
Commissioner Gooch,
Mr. Kelly and Mr. Hartley.
Commissioner Jordan,
Mr. Kelly and Mr. Hartley.
Commissioner Phillips,
Kelly Hartley.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Mr. Hartley, Mr. Gammon.
Commissioner Coggin.
Mr. Hartley and Mr. Gammon.
Mr. Kelly has 3, Gammon has 4, and Hartley has 7. So it's Gammon and Hartley.
Again, Mr. Hartley and Mr. Kelly, thank you all for your applications and for your service. Again, December 16th will be the full county commission meeting where you will have be presented to the full commission for approval. All right. Number 4 on your agenda is an appointment of Judicial Commissioner Sharon Troutman. I don't believe, is that just an announcement of that? Do we need to recommend that?
You have to have
Okay.
a motion and a vote.
All right, do we have a motion for that appointment?
So moved.
Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, on the agenda now is the anti-litter resolution. And I guess we don't need to give any history necessarily. It's on the agenda tonight. You also have received, I believe, a copy of the resolution with a few changes. And I'll go ahead and ask the mayor and Jeremy if y'all want to come on up. You're more than welcome to. We have, Jeremy's gone through and changed a few things, kind of answering some of the, I guess, issues and concerns of a lot of the input that we received over the past month or so. That maybe we can discuss. I guess I just wanted to put it back on the agenda tonight to kind of see, first of all, really what this committee wanted to do with it. I made a motion to defer it back to this committee because of a lot of the public input that we had received. And so I really just want to see what you all wanted to do. If you want to hear, I guess we can go ahead and hear what Jeremy has done to the resolution, and then we'll just open it up to whatever thoughts the committee has.
I guess we've had a few meetings about this. The mayor and I guess, met a couple different times with a few different folks, and kind of trying to incorporate some of the issues that especially the farmers have had with this resolution. And I guess it's important to note that this is not anything as far as a legal backed decision on these changes, but it's more of a policy directed aspect. So that it'll be for you guys to decide whether you want to keep the changes, change the changes, anything that you'd like to do. What has happened is in Section 2, under definitions, there have been a series of additional definitions that have been added with kind of the idea that agricultural uses are going to be specifically exempted from from Section, I believe it's 22, and we will get to that. The definitions that have been added come directly from our zoning ordinance, so we are striving for some consistency there. Under agricultural, you'll see that farms, forages, sod products, poultry products, livestock, beef, cattle, sheep, swine, horses, ponies, mules, or goats, bees, trees and forest products, horticulture, those and nurseries for wholesale, and lands devoted to soil conservation or forestry management. Specifically exempted, and again this is consistent with the zoning ordinance, is retail nurseries, commercial feedlots, areas that the raising of fur-bearing animals, and kennels. With that being the case, some of those terms needed additional definition. So commercial feedlots has been defined. Essentially, that's any singular lot that's dedicated to fattening up livestock for market and has no other agricultural purposes. Farm is a parcel of land equal to or exceeding 5 acres in size and used for residential and agricultural purposes. Forages is a food of any kind for animals, especially horses and cattle. Horticulture is the cultivation of plants. Kennels is the places that maintain dogs, cats, etc. for the purpose of sale or in connection with boarding. Nursery retail is the sale of trees, plants, and other landscaping materials directly to the general public. Nursery wholesale are for those nurseries that sell, or wholesalers that sell to retailers. Sod is a surface layer of ground containing a mat of grass and grass roots. And those are the additional definitions. And so that's, again, coming from our zoning ordinance, and those have been added. In Section 7, truckloads causing litter, no person shall drive or move any truck or other vehicle within the county unless such vehicle is so constructed, covered, or loaded as to prevent any load, contents, or litter from being blown, leaked, or deposited upon any street, alley, or other public place. The previous edition had an additional thing that it was a violation of the resolution to track mud, et cetera, on tires. There was some feedback that that could be onerous on farmers, and so that has been deleted. Now, Section 22 is the only other change, and what I've done is I've added another caveat to the notwithstanding anything to the contrary, and that's going to be that final sentence. And it says, notwithstanding anything to the contrary in this resolution, 1, property used for agricultural purposes is defined herein as specifically exempted from Section 22 of this resolution. And 2, a property owner shall not be held in violation of this resolution if, by a preponderance of the evidence, the property owner can prove that the owner has taken all reasonable steps to maintain property free of litter. As you will recall, originally, well, not originally, the version that got sent up to the county commission had the notwithstanding anything to the contrary in this resolution, and then a property owner shall not be held in violation of this resolution. So what's happened is that under this version, if it meets the definition of agricultural, as we talked about, and it's the first definition under the definition section, then non-compliant property, this resolution will not apply.
We're basically back to talking about residential property more than anything else.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir. That's correct.
Okay. And it exempts any farm that's over 5 acres.
Yes, sir. It is important to note that it's not just 5 acres. Farm has a specific delineation.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Jeremy, when you first originally brought this up to you and we started twinkling on it, you said if we took a lot of it out, more than likely we already got laws on the book anyway, right?
Yes, sir. There are some of
it was going to take the teeth out of what you were supposedly doing.
I think what the teeth issue is specifically that we had put the burden on the county to prove that the accumulation of litter, debris, et cetera, was done specifically by the owner of the property. And I think my comment at that juncture was that it would be difficult for the county to prove that those individuals had deposited the litter or refuse or rubbish on the property, because, you know, I'm sure y'all are well aware of piles of stuff that folks put out in the middle of their property, et cetera. It's kind of hard to prove who did it necessarily. And so I think that was my comment, really. And again, it was going to be difficult for an enforcement from a legal perspective, but that wasn't necessarily I guess a policy statement, really. And I'm sorry, and then I guess your other question was that there's already laws on the books. Well, there are some. Some of this is repetitive in nature, but it is what you got to remember is this is civil versus criminal. There's some criminal stuff, and that really is focuses and is concentrated on folks throwing stuff out of their car windows, et cetera. It has nothing to do with non-compliant property owners, which we've spent a lot of time talking about, that those folks who end up letting their yard accumulate a whole bunch of rubbish and refuse and things of that sort. There's nothing currently that would allow Mr. Jones, for instance, at the Codes Department to do anything about that specifically.
On the criminal side of it, is that where the there was a law passed that if someone turned someone in, they could collect the $50 and, you know, a few years back. Is that where that come from?
Yes, sir. The criminal statute itself does capture that $50. It's been put in here for ease of reference, and I had seen it at some point. I've had difficulty pinpointing it, but it appears that this is it's necessary. We cannot opt out of this. It's part of the criminal thing, whether you guys adopt this or not.
It's part of the Tennessee Code Annotated.
Yes, sir. It's part of the Tennessee Code. So it's not this putting it in here is really defining for everyone what's going on in the situation, so we're not piecemealing.
And the reason I bring that up, because that was some concerns that I'd heard from other commissioners and some people in the public, you know, had a problem with people, you know, throwing cigarette butts down or paper down in there, turn around and can actually make a job out of it. That's no control over the county commission. That's a state law, that's a criminal law that we have no control of, was why I was asking that question.
Yes, sir, and it's in that situation, it's important to note that the reward is only connected to a conviction. So this is not, you're not going to make a cottage industry of reporting every Tom, Dick, and Harry that throws a cigarette butt on the ground, because there has to be a conviction, and the district attorney's office is involved in that, and they kind of do what they want to do, and so they're in charge of that.
And they have more time. I mean, they don't have enough time on their hands now convicting people that do real crimes instead of just throwing cigarette butts down.
Yes, sir. I'd say that's probably true.
On section 19, it says the code enforcement officer will notify the owner. How will they notify the owner?
There would be a written notice. It's just kind of like any other citation that's been issued. So it'll be done in the exact same fashion.
Just send a letter to the mail.
Yes, sir. Honestly, I can't comment to that exact what that mechanism is, but there would be written notice, and in just kind of the typical fashion for citations.
Yeah, we have a citation form even now we send out for various code violations, tall weeds and grass, etc.
How long? Well, and that's kind of really my question on section 22. Where it says after notification they have 10 days to bring the property in compliance. And I'm just wondering if 10 days is a short window. I mean, if someone's on vacation, and if it's just a letter in the mail, they may get it 2 days and be out of compliance. And I was wondering if we might want to think about changing that to 20 days. Do you remember, Mayor, how long the tall weeds and grass?
I do not know. That's a good point. 10 days into tall weeds and grass.
We made it 10 days.
Yeah.
If I remember
But
right.
the reason I ask, because David has told me when I've called about tall weeds and grass in my commission district, there's 10 days that they got to give them time to get it cut.
After their
10 days is up is when they can actually.
That's after notice. So
It's after they've
been
received
notified,
it.
they've got 10 days.
Yeah.
So like
I think
10
it's-
days from notice of violation.
I think if someone called, though, and said, I'm so-and-so and wanted an extension, I obligated that they would get any extension that they wanted to.
But the last thing we want to do is to have to find somebody or take them into court or whatever. We want to give them every opportunity to come into compliance.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if your intent tonight is to hammer this out and get it back to the full commission, and if it's not, could we open it back up again
Absolutely.
to the public or whatever? I mean, I think you've made some changes here. I'm still not happy with section 21.
Yes, sir.
You made a comment about the 10 days, and there may be some other things here, and I don't want to end the discussion at all. That's not my intent here tonight. It's just and to the committee I'm asking, I guess, can we bring this back up? I know next month in January we're going to have our state officials here, and so House representatives and stuff. what about February, trying to come up with a solution or something, or maybe a meeting for the public or something? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Let me echo that and kind of say I like that idea, something that we kind of buzzed around a little bit too. I would recommend that we post this on the county website if that's possible, and communicate that folks can go look at it. And that way, if we have a meeting and we ask for input or open it up for input, then they've had the opportunity to look at it and give us feedback at that particular point in time. We've been we're looking at this for months, and there's nothing magical about bringing it back and doing anything timely, but I think public input right now is important. I know there are some rural commissioners that got 25, 30 telephone calls before the last county commission meeting. I didn't get any, but the communication that I have got is 100% in support of it. So I'm getting different communication than you are, that Joe Frank Jernigan is, and that's the reason that I think it's important that those folks that are opposed to it, and then those that are in favor of it or have some support of it, have the opportunity to look at it and see what's in it, and then talk to us about it.
Well, I think this was, it was brought up in a need that was there, and I was ready last month, and I really was ready this month to shoot it and kill it, and let's get it out of here and don't ever talk about it again. But a lot of work has gone in on this, and I think it's in good faith that we've done this work. And so if we can work out a compromise with the public and as well as with the county and the county commission, that we not spend another year on this hopefully, but get something down to where we can all tolerate and deal with and enforce. So I don't think we'll ever have a perfect ordinance in any fashion of any ordinance that we do, but we can certainly strive to have the best one at the beginning, and then we'll have to tweak it, of course, in years to come.
And I agree with that 100%. If the public input is mostly negative, then it's I wouldn't support it either. But I just think that we ought to put it out there and communicate it in a way and let everyone have a chance to take a look at it. If it's on the website, they'll have that chance, and then give us some feedback whether they like it or don't like it, and if they do like it, what they do, or some areas that they don't like, what they don't like about it, and that some of that issue that we had, I guess it was last month, that I thought was hammered out with Farm Bureau. Our conversation with them was, I'm okay with it. At least that's what I was told right after that meeting, that they're okay with it, and then the same folks that said I'm okay with it got up and said I'm not okay with it. So those are the kind of things that I've got mixed signals for, and the only real communication I've got are written communication, just like this, and support of it. So I just think we ought to put it out there and then let folks have their say. And we don't have to have a public hearing per se, but we can invite public and allow them to speak. Yeah.
Sure. Mr. Farrell?
It may not be a perfect resolution, and there are some things on there that need to be addressed, like the agricultural part of it, as we heard before. But there is a need out there for such ordinances, because a prime example is David Jones at the Codes Department called me today. The issue that I've been talking about on Kingwood Lane that I've been dealing with for the past 15 years. And they've appealed David's decision, and they've appealed Doug DeMoss's decision on that situation over there. I'm going to be there Wednesday at the BZA, and it's on TV right now, and I'm going to be up there supporting David Jones, and I'm going to be up there supporting Doug DeMossi, and I'm going to be up there supporting the neighbors out there, because that is a mess out there. It's the worst that I've ever seen anywhere. And each one of us rural commissioners, and there may be some of them in some of the cities, but I doubt it, but the rural commissioners out there have these situations in their district. I don't want a farmer to be dumped on and then turn around and be fined because they don't know it. I like the situation where the farmer is being exempt, but there are problems out there that need to be addressed, and David and them need to have some type of teeth to be able to enforce that. But it's a double-edged sword. I understand that there's some areas out there that there may be some concerns. The deal about taking the where tractors and vehicles come on the road where mud and stuff, I think that's a good idea. I had some of those concerns addressed to me by people out in the community. But there is a need, and how do we get to that need is that's a $60,000 question.
Commissioner Black, did you have,
All I was gonna say, perfect world, we would, everybody would do just right. But we always gonna have these individuals, and they're gonna, they're not going by like they should. I just don't know later on down the road whether if we adopt this, it could become a hindrance on our court system. I got some real concern. I want to get some feedback from my constituents also. Put it off another 2 months. That's fine.
I'd like to, if it pleases the committee, I'd like to ask Commissioner Jernigan if he has any comments, any input he wants to, if that's okay.
I got 2 or 3 things. One, Jeff, communication you got back, was it in your district?
You probably need to pull up to the table, Commissioner.
I don't know. It was sent to me. I don't know if they're in my district or not.
You ain't been up there how long, Commissioner?
Do what?
How long you been up here?
16 years.
You said just one person. How many others you had in that 16?
I've had a few.
This person I've heard you have.
It's there.
What I'm gonna say is most of the people in my district overwhelmingly, and all the commissioners, Virginia and rural, is worried that we're gonna fix a document here. You got 9 pages right here to kind of regulate what small stuff we're talking about.
Commissioner, I'm not talking about nothing small.
Wait a minute, let me get that. How many other 20-something commissioners in all the time you've been up here, have you heard them bring it up on something? I ain't heard over 2 or 3. And the people is worried to death. We already in this country, every city and county, try to regulate people to death. And they're sick and tired of it. And like Jack said a while ago, once you implement this, it don't take nothing but somebody later come back with 11 more and change it, and they have whatever you want back on farmers and anybody else. And I mean, I'm gonna go on and study it, but unless something that I see that change my mind, ain't no way I'll be fussing.
Well, are you through? Mr. Chairman, back before Commissioner Jernigan and Commissioner Black got on to the commission, I know Commissioner Phillips and Commissioner Gooch, and I don't know, Mr. may not, but Mr. Sandlin may remember this. The weeds and ordinance came to fruition because there were problems out here in subdivisions with people, their grass 4 and 5 foot tall. And it was making property owners' property values go down because people wouldn't, or they would leave the house, and next thing you know, we exempted farmland out of there because the commissioner, that was before you, Commissioner Jernigan.
We're talking about weeds and grass now. You are.
To me, it's kind of the same thing because things are detrimental to people's property values in these subdivisions. Farmland, the big acres, in my opinion, they need to be exempt. but it's people that live in in residential areas where the problems are at.
Well, in saying that, I mean, that might knock a lot of issues out, and what we did is make it to platted subdivisions in the weeds and grass. And that solved the whole issue right there. It was just on platted subdivisions. So if it wasn't a platted subdivision, it was just a house on the main road, and you got 2 or 3, it's just platted subdivisions that we were having that issue. And that might take care of this situation. I don't know. That's something we need to think about and bring it up. Yeah. I don't know if it takes care of your situation nowhere, but
I think it would.
No, you're not in a platted subdivision.
That's not in a platted
piece of
subdivision?
property, no.
Well, I have one constituent has a farm, and it's on a newspaper in his drive. And he was concerned about that, and he lives in a rural area.
That's really, I think, the issue that brought this whole thing.
That's the whole thing, yeah.
And it's just protecting people from people throwing out trash.
Well, I had a constituent just the other day, and they saw the TV part about this coming up and hopes it passes. And he is, he's in a wheelchair, and he is called over and over and over about getting taken off the list for the Daily News Journal, or that free paper that they throw out. I don't think it's, well, it is part of the journal, or whatever it is that's thrown out there. And they won't take him off. And so he asked me to call for him, and I did. But I can't take him off because I'm not the property owner, because they ask you, you know. And so that process over there is not working properly. I think the attorney that was here talking to us about it, I think they're trying to put steps in to make it work and trying to do some things differently to make it work. But as of this last week, not today, Monday, but last week, it was not working. And he's tried numerous amount of times, and I couldn't help him neither. This could help that situation, but this situation, just like I think it was it the barking dogs or something or whatever, the noise, yeah, the noise ordinance that we, so to speak, worked hard on one time, and you know how it got into barking dogs and stuff. It got expanded, and so maybe we just need to trim this thing back down to what we originally tried to do or start to do, and just some things for us to think about here in the next couple of months, and to work on this and see if we can get a compromise in here.
The biggest concerns that I've heard from people in my district and in other districts, on the negative side, to me, that what you talked about tonight, eliminating the agricultural part, and then the vehicles on the road, took care of those issues from the negative part I heard.
I think so.
I mean,
I hope it does. I hope it does. I hope that.
Commissioner Jernigan is real emotional about this. I could tell from the last commission meeting he's real emotional about this, and I admire that passion. The other part of that is, in my mind, is that I only may have gotten 2 emails, okay? But so what? My point was, I didn't get any telephone calls saying it's bad, don't do it. But I have gotten communication that says we need it, and this one right here is really strong. It says make it tough, make it hard, put a lot of teeth to it. So that's what I'm getting. That's the reason that I'm saying I don't think we ought to scrap the thing until we have folks that have an interest in it, have input in it. What if, just as an example, there were 100 farmers that said we don't want it, and there were 10,000 residential people that said we want it? What would we do? And that's my point. We ought to have more than just the Farm Bureau input in it. We ought to have the citizens of Rutherford County. After all, we're growing up, and we're not the same community that we were 10 years ago or 20 years ago. We are quite different. And a lot of that farmland is no longer farmland. It's houses all over the place. And I don't think that that's going to change anytime in the very near future. I don't think that it will. So if this is cumbersome and it's over-regulation, let's do something better. But I just don't think, and that was my concern at the commission meeting, that we're going to scrap the thing without good public input. And who should be afraid of that? Who should be afraid of us putting this on the website, communicating to the public, go take a look at it, let us know what you think about it. If it's good, let us know. If it's bad, let us know, because we want your input.
Mr. Chairman, did we get a motion on the floor?
We do not right now.
If I could make one.
Yes, sir.
If this would be correct, I'd like to make a motion that we bring this back up in February, hopefully for recommendation. I don't know if that'll work out or not, but I'll put hopefully in there. And in the meantime, we look into these things that we've talked about. We need to go over those right quick after the motion. But I make a motion that we bring it up in February for public comment, as well as putting it on the website.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
You spoke a while ago about there's other resolutions that the county has already on the books. And I'm looking to worst case scenario here, that for some reason we cannot get a resolution ironed out and passed to the commission. Is there things on the books right now that will help situations? And I don't know if you're familiar with what I've got out there on Kingwood Lane, but something similar to that will help those type of situations out.
No, sir. We've had more than one discussion with David and with Jeremy both. No, there's not. I mean, that is what we specifically did. We went through everything we have on the books, every tool we have now, to see if we could use some of those tools, or maybe even modify some of those tools. And we weren't able to identify that, honestly.
And I thought I knew the answer to that question when I asked it, because David's frustration and my frustration and the neighbor's frustration out there that's the reason why. You know, it's a dump out there. You know, it ain't as bad as BFI's landfill out there, but it's, to those neighbors out there, it's a BFI landfill. You know, and that's why I'm passionate about this situation here. You know, and I understand Mr. Jernigan is passionate about his beliefs and others as well, but it is what it is.
Any more discussion on the motion? Yes.
Do we need to look into the time frame on the 10 days?
Well, we can get some public input on it, but I think that if we're flexible, you know, I think they've always been flexible with the tall weeds and grass. If they're flexible with this, if someone calls and says, hey, I need 15 days, can you give me 5 extra days? If the department can be flexible, I'm fine with it. But we can get public input.
What about the platted subdivisions then? What do we?
Well, what I really think you should do is take this and really study it.
Okay.
You may have other items that you really have considered when you come up for your next discussion.
Okay. Just leave it really kind of open, yeah.
Leave it open. Yeah. All we've done is take the two major things that we identified that appeared were going to have to be changed, or else we didn't have any probability of this thing going forward. So that's all we've addressed. There are other things that might be of lesser consequence that you want to add, and I think you can be flexible to have those opportunities to put those in later.
Well, to keep from putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, why I'm saying February is because we've got our representatives coming up in January is all, and it's going to be a lengthy meeting there, and I want to devote all the time we can to that in January. That's why I said February. But if there's anything that we need the attorney or the mayor or myself or the chairman or something to look into and ask, I want to try to get that out on the floor tonight and maybe start trying to get some answers from that.
It might be good if you would communicate with the chairman or me, if you come up with some issues that you really want to be addressed, give us enough time before the February meeting to do some homework and study on that.
One of mine personally is section 21, the last part of that, given the out, I call it, in this whole thing. To me, we don't need it at all if we're going to give them the out in the last part of section 21. So that's my opinion. It ought to be yours.
Let me say, we have had that discussion.
Okay.
We haven't found a way that we think will meet all of the tests and requirements of what you would say, the right of free speech, et cetera, to take that out yet. We're still working on that.
We got to dig deep, Mayor. We got to dig. We got to work hard.
But we haven't been able to. We have not been able to find a way to do that properly. Okay? Those kinds of things. If you'll give me and/or Jeremy some feedback, then we will work on it more.
Okay.
What sentence are you talking about, Steve?
I believe it's the where they put they put sections 11, 12, and 13 back in. It's the last sentence, I think, where
Section 21.
Yeah, in section 21. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, the latter part of that last sentence, I guess.
Starting with notwithstanding.
Yeah.
You just want to take that out.
Because we put it back in on the last meeting.
Okay.
And I want to take it back out. And why I say that is, and this is my opinion, seriously, no kidding, it's my opinion. But the deliverers, or the people working and putting these papers, there's a lot of folks out there that's been on these same routes probably for years. But there's also a lot of folks that switch up or change or do it temporary. And when they do that, from their attorney, it seems like, that's where an error comes into place. So these folks that have opted out and don't leave a paper, free paper, in my driveway, porch, yard, wherever, that's when they come back. Well, then they get cited, and it comes back to them. The paper can be cited, and they're saying their excuse out is, well, we made a mistake because we've got a new deliverer, or there was a computer glitch or whatever. And that's, to me, that's couldn't be their excuse on every one. I'm not saying it will, but I'm just saying it's an out for them.
We will continue that study.
Okay.
Jeremy will. He's been struggling with that.
And then you may want to look into the platted subdivisions. If that takes care of a lot of our issues here that we're having trouble with, then maybe it lands on platted subdivisions. I don't think that's going to help Gary's situation.
Well, that's getting ready to say.
Yeah, if it's not in a platted subdivision.
If it's not in a platted subdivision,
yeah,
it's not going to help that situation
we
out
do
there.
have situations in platted subdivisions that clearly need to be addressed, just like he's describing.
Right.
We have pictures and we have those issues as well.
Right.
But these newspapers are going off into non-platted subdivisions.
True.
Yeah.
True.
There are, some issues that was brought up by the Farm Bureau month before last or last month, I can't even remember what, that was really valid. That people, they've got large sums of land and people dump on it. And I understand all of those concerns. I do. The reverse part of that in my mind is that we ought to go after the folks that is doing the dumping, not necessarily making it hard on those large property owners. And I think that's the concern, at least that's what I hear from coming out of like Commissioner Jernigan, is that we're going to hold those guys responsible, and that's where the teeth comes in, somebody has to be responsible. And if we exempt agricultural, then I'm not sure that we're going to be able to prevent some of these things. If there's a large farm that someone goes out and dumps, we keep mentioning roof shingles, but if they do that, I'm not sure that we have an incentive now to try to find out who's doing that. So it may even make matters not any better for those folks that are out there. So, but
I understand.
I just have this concern that we're growing up as a community, and who in their right mind will condone litter? Who will? And that's what this thing is trying to address, is to keep folks from trashing your yard, my yard, and your farm. But maybe it's too burdensome. Maybe it is. We started talking about airplane bills and those kinds of things. All of them, when we were talking about it, made sense. who wants to put up with that garbage too? So it is lengthy, and the
We will
longer.
review this and take out every sentence, every definition that we don't think is necessary. Jeremy already thinks everything in here is necessary. We will do that again with an objective view.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Jordan.
I'm not a fan of the 10 days either. But that probably would not affect my vote one way or another, but it's 10 days after they receive it. But I kind of agree maybe that's not enough. I'm very reluctant to, I'm very troubled by this because it barely applies to any of my district. So I really, absolutely want to make sure that at least I try to vote for something or against, whatever, that applies out into Commissioner Jernigan and Mr. Black and others' district. But it doesn't apply to mine because the city's ordinance takes precedent. And that worries me, and I really want to know what my vote needs to be. And I wanted to ask Commissioner Farley, and I know that I do now. I now know the area that you're talking about and the problem. And without saying too much, maybe you don't want to say anything, but how is that being addressed at this time? I mean, you said you were going to a meeting. I'm sure you are.
Yeah, this person, just for pure nuisance, went up and violated the fence ordinance and put up one of the most shoddy fences that you'd ever want to lay your eyes on, just to tick off the neighbors out there. His house is fell in. He's living in a rundown camper out there, and the neighbors are at wit's end. Our codes department's at wit's end. Our planning department's at wit's end. Just for pure, just because he wanted it. He wanted to tick the neighbors off. And the neighbors out there are sick and tired of it. And I don't blame them.
I understand.
And that's why I'm
just asking on what basis.
I think it would be prudent for us to let this take its natural course through the appeal to the BZA, et cetera, and let us enforce the rules and zoning ordinances that we have in place.
Any other discussion?
Thank you, Mayor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I forgot what that motion was. Next, we need to reschedule our January 3rd meeting. That will be, January 3rd will be in observance of New Year's Day. Ms. Taylor gave me a couple of dates, one being Wednesday, January 5th, the other one being January the 11th, which is a Tuesday. Does anybody have a preference on either one of those nights?
I know the 5th is on a Wednesday, but 5th works better for me.
What was the second choice besides the 5th?
The 11th, Tuesday the 11th.
Either one of them worked for me. The 5th works just fine.
5th is on Wednesday, 11th is on Tuesday, the next week, after New Year's.
Are we, is that the legislative session that we're going to have? Will that be that one?
Ms. Taylor is going to call everybody once we set this date to make sure that they could be available for that date. That's historically when we've done it. I'm afraid if we wait until February, they'll be in session. And if I may be wrong, but I believe they go into session on Monday nights. But
which Monday night?
Monday is February the 7th is our next steering meeting, if I have the date correct. Do you know if they're in session yet? They go into session, then they recess. I'm not sure.
They'll be in session in January. I don't know when though.
So if it's okay with the committee, we'll just have Ms. Taylor contact everybody with the date of the 5th, and then that'll be our plan to have them there the 5th.
But could you give a bit of flexibility and say the 5th first choice and the 11th second choice in case they can't do it on the 5th?
Yeah.
Is that okay with the committee?
Yeah, it is.
That'd be fine.
Can we make the 11th work? Okay. That'll be fine.
I really forgot about that. That's going to be a pretty lengthy meeting, maybe. 11th might even be better. So,
At 5:30.
5:30?
Now, wait a minute now, I wasn't gonna express any opinion, but since Mr. Sandlin said that, the 11th's a much better date for me.
Yeah.
But the 5th I can live with.
I can meet the
That's
11th.
more
I know
convenient.
Wednesday night's gonna take us for a pretty long period, and we all try to get to church on Wednesday night, so it's 11th. 11th, I won't go to this other meeting.
Can we still have that flexibility? I guess that's what we're looking
Sure.
for.
Absolutely.
We'll
But-
shoot
but may the 11th being the
priority
first and then the 5th not.
Okay. The 11th being the priority. And we will try and get that out to everybody as soon as possible, so we can firm that date up. Any other business?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I've got one order of business, but I want to handle this very carefully, and I mean that, just like I said, it very carefully. Last month, the committee
That's what he
made-
says before he's fixing to make somebody feel bad.
Well, I throw that out there at the beginning because it's not to make you, Mr. Chairman, feel bad. And we've talked about it, so I want to go ahead and clear that, and I've talked to the mayor about it too. But in our handbook, it is not clear about the chairman's procedure on committee process and reporting back to the full commission. The committee last month chose to send the anti-litter ordinance to the full commission. And you made the motion to defer back to the committee. And I understand that with the public comment or with public influence on doing that. But to me, I think the chairman's responsibility is to report actually what the committee did, whether you're for it or against it. And if anybody should have been happy about what you did, it should have been me, because I was the only one that voted against it. But it did raise an eyebrow with me and raise a concern with me, and that's why I'm saying I'm doing this in the best of light. It's not towards you, but it did bring a light to this. And so I wanted to look, and I wanted to see what our handbook said, and I didn't get a clear answer on that. So if we could put it on the agenda, or if we could look that up as far as making a tweak in the handbook of the chairman's responsibility in taking forth the actions of the whatever committee, that's what needs to be reported. I've been chairman before of committees and not been in favor of something that passed, or have been for something that failed. And as chairman, I had to present it to the full commission, and then I voted no or yes, you know. But in there, to the full commission is where then you make an amendment to that motion or whatever. But I think as a chairman's responsibility, or whoever presents what happened in that committee, is you report to the full commission what happened to the committee. And I just think that's an open part there, and as a steering committee, we're supposed to address issues like that. And so I just really kind of want to clear that up for future references to chairmen of committees.
Well, if the chairman is okay with it, I think we should put it on as an agenda item.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Suggest putting that on as an agenda item next month. I mean, it's a real, if you want to accomplish what he just said, we have to add one very simple but straightforward sentence to the commission rules.
Okay.
handbook.
Okay.
And it's a pretty simple sentence.
I would,
If that's what the commission wants to do.
I would move that we do that then, Mr. Chairman.
Add this to the agenda.
Yes, sir.
In February or January?
Why not February? Since I mean, it may take 2 seconds, but if shouldn't be a big discussion or big outburst of emotion on this, hopefully not, so.
It's a difference of opinions.
If y'all want to do it next month, I mean, that's fine with me. Before I make that motion then, y'all want to do it next month? I mean, January?
Well, that meeting next month may be getting along, and we may make a harsh decision and a quick decision, and not really think it out.
February, yeah. Make a motion that we bring it up in February.
Question just for anybody,
Well, we ain't got a second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
I'm not sure this is on point, but I recall at least one chairman of another committee did not recommend, just read the resolution, did not recommend its adoption because they intended to vote against it. And I'm not saying that's what would have happened in this situation at all. I'm just saying that if that's the case, then somebody here should have, and it could have been me, should have either asked for it to be tabled or asked for a vote, one or the other, or that it not be tabled, and then we would, I assume we would have, somebody then, if he didn't want to do it. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if that's...
The language currently now says the chairman doesn't have to make the report from the committee, but the chairman or a member he so designates must make the report. You could change the language that the chairman or a member he so designates will put a motion on the floor to support or comply with the findings of the committee if a person really chose not to want to make that motion. So you could use that same language you've already got there about who can make the report.
Well, like I said before, as chairman of, I remember Public Works, years past, there was something that come across that I wasn't in favor of, but I was the chairman, led the committee process, and voted no. And then when I took it to the full commission, made the motion. But you know, some chairmans may not want to be you know, pointed to or directed to of making the motion for whatever it may be. Not in this case particularly, I'm just saying whatever it may be. Just may not want to be involved with it at all because they're totally against it or totally for it, whatever the motion may be. And then, but I think it's a responsibility of the chairman to report what the committee did, and then whatever the motion came out of that committee, and then vote no, vote yes, make any amendments to it, or send it back to committee, or whatever.
And that's fine. We can look at it. We can discuss it in January or February. But yeah, a couple things. One, the report was made to the full commission. And if you remember Mr. Cope saying any commissioner can make any motion at any time, is what he said during the commission meeting. So, I mean, and we can, that's what you're saying, we can tweak it, but what you said is that the chairman has to report what was done in the committee, and that was done.
But that's right now the chairman must report.
Well, that's,
it is silent on what it says about making a motion, and that's
right. Right. But that's what you were saying, is that we need to make language say that the chairman must report what was done. But that was done.
How was that done?
I reported what the committee recommended.
But he did not make a motion.
But I didn't make the same motion that the committee recommended. The same thing that was done 3 months ago when John Rogers, chairman of this committee, did.
I don't think that's in the same light as reporting what the committee had done, though. The committee had made a motion to approve this anti-litter ordinance.
And I said that.
That was not a motion that you brought to the full commission, which this committee had sent to be done.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
He did exactly what he was allowed to do, but you're saying that we need to consider whether we want the language to be stronger in that whatever the committee findings are, that either the chairperson or another person so designated would be responsible for putting a motion on the floor that would comply
to me
with the findings.
And I apologize, but I have been here 20 years as a county commissioner, and this is the first time that I've seen it not reported on what the committee process was done. Now, I understand, you know, Mr. Rogers had brought up something, and I don't know if it was a committee was notified of it. Hey, we've had a problem here. We're going to defer it back to the committee. I don't know what the light was there. I don't exactly remember.
It was the same resolution.
I understand, but I'm saying I don't remember what the light was on it. So, in fact, that I thought it was in there in black and white that we do report that way, because I don't want the public coming up to a meeting and whatsoever thinking an issue is solved or resolved, or it's dead, or, you know, it's been shot down or whatever. And I know everything can change and on the full commission from any committee. But then knowing that the process has been taken care of, or it's denied, or it's approved, or whatever, and then it get to that point, and then it's not presented to the full commission of what come out of that committee. And that's something I did not know about. And I just want to correct that, make sure that that's handled from then on.
Any other business?
So we got to vote on that, and that's in February, correct?
All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Any opposed?
didn't remember, what was the motion? To talk about.
Put this on the agenda to bring it up in February.
I'm sorry, thank you. Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm still for it.
Any other business? Seeing no other business, move that we adjourn.
Thank you.